Imagine, if you will, you're looking through the comments on a video that you just posted, and you come across one that says, I'm new to the whole concept of prepping. How do I start prepping? That, my friends, is a huge topic.
And we're going to be talking about that in this video. Here we go. Yeah. Wow.
Well, hey everybody, I'm Bill.
And I'm Elizabeth. Live simple,
live free. And if you've been around for a while, you know that our channel used to be called Tiny House Prepper.
Yep.
Because we are preppers. We changed the name because we no longer live tiny.
We live little, but not tiny.
But we're still preppers.
Yeah.
But it seems like recently most of what we've been talking about as far as prepping has had to do with food storage. There are a whole lot of other topics besides just food storage to talk about as far as prepping.
Yeah, there's a whole lot more to it than just having the food.
So, first of all, why prep? Why bother? Well, I think everybody's pretty much aware of all the shortages that are going on now. And it's unprecedented, not only in the grocery store, but also in auto parts and tractor parts and building materials, and just those are some of the things that I've personally experienced. But it's across the board shortages because of supply chain issues. Yeah. And a lot of people think that that's temporary, but I tend to think that it's going to be more long term. But I don't want to get into the reasons for that now because that's a whole different video.
Yeah, that's not what we're talking about here, right?
But then there are also things that we've always had, like, power outages, and a hurricane takes out a transfer station for the electrical power, and it takes a couple weeks to get power restored. Blizzards.
A big ice storm that takes down trees and power lines.
There's all kinds of things like that. So the question is, are you prepared for that?
Well, there's so many different things. What if there's just an extremely serious major illness in the breadwinner in the family?
Right.
There's just a lot of different possibilities of things where suddenly your circumstances have changed.
Right. And so the next question that I hear a lot is, how long should I prepare for? And, I hear people talking about prepping that are really kind of uninformed, and they say, well, the government says that you should prepare for 10 days of food storage. 10 days?
Yeah, we've actually had electricity out for longer than that.
Yeah, so how long you should prepare for really depends on you, depends on what you think the scenario would be. But I would say a minimum of 6 months. And we are prepared for a lot longer than that. But really, that's up to you, your level of risk that you're willing to take.
Well, and
how bad you think the situation's going to get.
And how independent of a person you really are. I mean, have you been growing your own food and doing all that for a long time? It's just depends on where you're at.
Right. So, like I said, we talk a lot about long-term food storage on this channel, but there are many other things. Like, for instance, do you have any idea how long a tube of toothpaste would last you? Or do you have any idea how long a 12-pack of toilet paper lasts your family? Lighting, do you have any kind of lighting? All kinds of different things like that you may not have thought about. So you really need to stop and consider many of these other things.
Mm-hmm. Now, when we think about maybe, suddenly the electricity goes out, there's been a really bad storm. There's all sorts of different weather-related things that can happen. Well, all of a sudden you don't have electricity. Let's just put it that way. Just don't have electricity. What are going to be the really crucial things? And a lot of times people really automatically think, do I have food? Can I cook food? But we've got to remember that this is the first three things that are crucial. Goodness, whether you have gotten lost in the forest or you're in a house where we suddenly lost all of our electricity. And honestly, the first one, I would have thought it was water, but that's not really the first one. The first consideration is shelter. And of course, you
Actually, when you hear people talk about this, they always say you need to make sure you have food, water, and shelter.
yeah, yeah. Those are the big three they talk about.
That's exactly backwards.
But yeah, the order is shelter, water, food. And there's a reason for that. If like I said, you're out lost in the woods, that's a big reason. But even in your own home, unless it's just a particularly beautiful time of year, are you going to be okay with absolutely no heat? Or goodness, are you set up so that maybe you'd be okay if you've got extremely high temperatures outside? So being able, especially if something happens when there's cold weather, it's a very serious consideration. How are you going to keep warm? And then water is, of course, crucially important. And then after that would be to have basic food. And of course, there's a lot of other considerations, but those are the big three. You can only last about 3 days without water, and you can last a lot longer without food, but you're not going to feel real good. So,
But you might not last the night if you don't have warm shelter.
That's
if
right.
it's really cold in the middle of the winter.
If it's really cold, or you have someone somewhere that is in a place that'll suddenly heat up like crazy in really bad temperatures, So yeah, it's shelter and water and food.
So, with that in mind, now, how do you start? If you've never done anything like this, how do you start? You start by just paying attention to the things that you use every day. Like I mentioned earlier, toothpaste. Do you know how long a tube of toothpaste will last you? Here's what you do. Buy a new tube of toothpaste, write the date with a magic marker, write the date on the tube when you start using it. And then when it's empty, see how long it lasted.
Right.
Same thing, you buy a 6-pack or a 12-pack of toilet paper, write the date right on it when you first break into that and see how long it takes your family to use a 12-pack of toilet paper. That'll give you an idea of how much you need for a certain amount of time.
I think even before that, there's so many things we do in life that we take for granted. You need to start just paying attention to what are the important things that you do on a regular basis. What if most people, honestly, you wake up in the morning, 2 things: go to the bathroom and start a pot of coffee. Isn't that true? Most people will get some coffee going. Well, what if you can't get a hold of water? What if you can't pump? What would be your, because being able to go to the bathroom somewhere is an important consideration. And, can you make coffee? After a while, would you even have coffee? Mm-hmm. And also, if somebody has electricity out for 24 hours, you go into sort of, this is an exciting adventure mode. You just kind of, like, you hunker down and, it's all just a big adventure. Kind of a feeling, this is kind of cool. Maybe we can find a candle somewhere and it'll be kind of fun.
And after 3 days, it's still an adventure, but it's starting to get wearisome.
Yes, and all of a sudden, missing those everyday things starts to be a really serious issue. Mm-hmm. What if it was a couple of weeks?
Right. What happens if it's 3 weeks instead of 3 days?
Right. Yeah.
So just even take a pad and paper with you, or, sit down before you go to bed with a piece of paper and just write down, what things did I use today that I couldn't do without?
Yeah. Yes.
And once you go through that process and think about everything, think about your food, think about lighting, think about entertainment,
medicine,
toiletries, all those different categories. And once you go through that and you can write down everything you want, or that you can think of, now you're going to do something to put this on overdrive, to find out what you really need. What you do is you go into your electrical panel in your house, and there's a great big circuit at the top, circuit breaker at the top, probably says 200 on it. Turn that off. What will that do? That'll turn off all the power in your entire house. Mm-hmm. So first do it for 3 days and see what you start running out of and what you wish you had.
Right.
And then after you do that experiment, then a little bit later you can do it for a week or do it for 2 weeks. Imagine living in your house for 2 weeks without any electricity. I guarantee you
It'll change the way you look at things.
You're going to start to discover things that you never thought of that you really need, and those are the things that you start prepping with.
And if you think about it, I can think of 3 things that you have to keep in mind if you end up in a situation. I mean, there can be a lot of things besides losing electricity, but let's just talk about losing electricity. And that is how to keep safe, how to keep healthy, and we don't think about this one enough, how to keep sane, okay? Especially if you have children and a family.
Safe, healthy, and sane.
Safe, healthy, and sane. Yeah, I just thought of that.
Yeah, very good.
Yep. And especially in our electronic-driven lives now. Do you even, this is just an offhand thing, but do you even have a deck of cards in the house so that you can do something with the kids? And if they're kind of restless. And so, yeah.
And do you have a bunch of books about prepping, or maybe books about foraging? Are they ebooks? If they are, then when the power goes out, you can't read them.
That's right.
So, hard copies of books, hard copies of novels, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then after you go through that process of trying without electricity for a week or 2, or however long you want to do it.
And however long gives you a good idea.
Then go approach it from a different way.
Yeah.
Just say, it's got to be random. So, on the roll of the dice, every day roll the dice. And when you hit a 6, it starts today. Not prepared. From that point on, don't go to the store. Any store. For a week or for 2 weeks. And see how well you do with what you've got in your preps.
Right.
And if you try that, if you go for without electricity for 2 weeks, and then another time you go without going to the store for 2 weeks, and then if you really want to get hardcore, you can do both at the same time.
Yeah. What if you can't get gas for your car? What if you can't drive it during that time?
Right. Yeah.
This sounds like we're doing like big whole scenarios, but different things like that can happen. I was just telling Bill, as much as we think about trying to be prepared, and I have all sorts of things set up in my house that don't require electricity, so I can still function. And I've talked about a lot of them, but I'm always got my eyes open for what is something I can use that I don't have to have electricity for. Well, the other day I went and I was just picking up my usual cat litter, just going to Walmart to get cat litter. There's usually 75 different kinds, and I'm trying to find the one that I think works the best and all this kind of stuff. I walked up there, and there was exactly 2 little packages of cat litter on those great big wire shelves at Walmart. 2 of them that are a brand I don't really like at all, and 1 box of something that I feel like does a good job. And it's the first time I've ever realized, oh my goodness, I wasn't thinking about having cat litter.
We've thought about cat food, but we never thought about cat litter.
We always make sure we have plenty of cat food, set him all up with that. But, he's an indoor cat. And even if he was an outdoor cat, I'd still want to have a box in the house for him. And I tell you, that was a sobering moment, not because I was thinking about the idea of it, but because I was looking at empty shelves. And all of a sudden I thought, what if they just don't have any cat litter for sale anywhere?
Right.
And it's just, you have to start thinking, what is really going to be important in my life so that everybody, including my cat, can stay healthy, and safe. If for some reason I can't get stuff from the store, So, yeah, it's just funny. I just, walking by now, sometimes the shelves are really great. Sometimes they're just about bare nowadays, Now, it's something I wanted to say here, because we hear about this a lot in comments. Oh, you guys, for one thing, we get called hoarders, and we're really not hoarders at all. But, if you wouldn't go and just get so much, the shelves wouldn't get empty when people, when the people are running into trouble. And we've got to understand that being prepared is exactly the opposite of that. If I'm going to buy toilet paper, now I don't usually go and buy like a bunch at a time. But what I will do is, like, if I go to the store, let's say once a week, I'm not going to go through a big package of toilet paper in 1 week. But I go ahead and I buy another one the next time I'm at the store so that I'm one ahead. And then maybe in a couple weeks, I'm still pretty much like 1.5 ahead kind of a thing. I'll go and I'll pick up another one. I don't wait until I'm out. And you know what that means is when you are picking up a little bit extra, you're keeping yourself, with some prepared ahead. We've said this before in videos, but I want to say it again. When the time would ever come that all of a sudden people start getting scared and they run to the store for things, which we have seen happen recently, someone who's prepared is not even needing to go to the store. We are the last people to cause problems during a time like that. Right. I don't have to go get it. I'm not nervous about it. I'm already prepared ahead. So I can leave what's there for people that aren't prepared and that need it. I don't ever go and take away from those that need it. I have stuff that if, I had some family members during the great big toilet paper crisis, not Barry, I want to make sure, it wasn't them at all, but I had family members that ran out of toilet paper. And I was able, my sister and I both were able to give them toilet paper because we had plenty. And so a prepared person is in better shape to help people rather than making a panic situation worse.
Right.
We have to understand it's not hoarding.
Every time I do a video talking about shortages coming up or shortages that are happening, somebody says something like, it's videos like the one you're doing right here that's causing panic buying and causing the shortages. I say the exact opposite, what she was just saying. By putting these out and letting people know, be prepared now, then when the real shortage happens, the people that are prepared, the people I'm talking to, don't have to go to the store. They're not part of the panic buying.
Right.
So actually, it's helping to alleviate the panic by preparing ahead.
Right. There's just, like Bill says, there's no downside to being prepared. Knowing you've got some, just something so that whatever you need, you've got some extra of it. So if something happens, you're all set. It just makes sense.
So bottom line, what we're saying here is that if someone asks, how do I start prepping? Well, I can't really tell you because I don't know your lifestyle. I don't know the things that are important to you. But you do.
That's right.
And so what we're telling you is to find tools for you to discover how you can start prepping. Basically shut off the power or don't go to the store, that sort of thing. But also, this is just a short video, but we did a fairly in-depth thing about this a couple of years ago. It's a 3-video series. And so I'll put a link below in the description and also on the end screen to our playlist of the 3 videos called How to Start Prepping, Part 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
And we talk about all different things that you may not even have thought about.
Yeah.
So if you're really interested in this topic, you've never really started prepping, you don't know how, go and listen to our playlist. Now, it is a couple of years old, but so,
I think the basic ideas are still very...
Yeah, everything that we said is still the same. It's just it's an old camera and, that sort of thing.
One of the things is... be proactive about your own life. Pay attention to things, and notice what's important to you. I've had a couple of situations where when we took Bill's parents in, after the crash in 2008, we took them into our home. I spent some time over there just noticing what is it that they do? What is it that is just part of their life? So I could try to duplicate that at our house the best I could. When we moved Pop in, and he got to be with us for those last 15 months, before he went to heaven. We really paid attention. What is it that he needs so that his life is still going to feel normal? And just look at your life, look at your family, your kids. What is it that makes things flow for you and feels normal? And when you become aware of it, then all of it, you'll start noticing, I better be careful to make sure I know how to make this happen. Even if somebody loses their job or gets really sick or there's a big storm or something. And even as much as I've been working on this, I suddenly got surprised by cat litter. So, yeah.
So there you go. Go ahead and listen to our series about how to start prepping, those 3 videos. And let's be prepared. Let's not be part of the panic buying. Let's not contribute to the empty shelves when the time comes.
Right.
Let's be those who are prepared and able to help others instead of being part of the food riots.
Well, and to even in terms of staying warm enough, or just things like that. If we're okay, not only can we be there maybe to help somebody else out, but we're not going to be one of the people that needs emergency care or needs all these resources.
Right.
So we can kind of stay out of the way so that all of the professional resources can be put in place as much as possible. The more of us that can take care of ourselves, the less of us there are to be taken care of.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All righty.
Okay. Thanks for watching. I hope you find that helpful. I really do.
Yes, we really do. And when you go to the bigger series that we did, we do go into a lot of depth on stuff. Yeah.
So, thanks for watching. Live simple.
Live free.
You be blessed.
Yes. Love you guys.
We'll see you next time.
We'll see you soon. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.